I'm looking for validation. It's a fear of rejection. It's a fear of failure, which is why I'm seeking the validation. I'm struggling to put myself out there and make the offer.
Back when my client was a leadership coach in Dubai, everybody around her told her that her life was a huge success. But despite owning all the shiny objects, she felt empty and she felt lost. And that's when her spiritual awakening began. Today, she wants to bring the gift of spiritual awakening to leadership professionals around the world, but she isn't really able to do that yet because of the fear of putting herself out there, because she believes deep down that she's not good enough as a spiritual coach, and also because she's not sure how to create authentic content that resonates deeply with her audience. And to be honest, I really know how she feels because I've had many instances in my life when I felt insecure and I just had to coach myself out of it and find my confidence, find my power. If I don't ask her the right questions and don't offer the right guidance, she's not going to start believing herself as a spiritual coach, and she won't see the value of her offer. She will probably live with regret for the rest of her life, and like so many talented people, die knowing that she had this exceptionally valuable gift inside of her, knowing that she could have done more for the world if she would have let go of her fear and stepped into her power. So wish me luck. Intuitively speaking, what's gonna make this conversation exceptionally valuable for you?
To know a validation of my niche and the content that I'm putting together.
Yes.
I'm looking for validation.
You mentioned before, like we started recording, you mentioned that we already have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
So my job is to just simply ask you the questions to find those answers. So in that sense, what would that look like for you in terms of getting the validation that you need for your niche? Here's my invitation to you. Think of an area in your life where you feel insecure. It could be dating, it could be sales, it could be negotiating, it could be just establishing relationships with new people, or even hiring exceptional people for your business. And put yourself in the shoes of my client, because this is going to help you tremendously with understanding how to unlock confidence and inner power in this specific area of your life where you haven't done that yet, so that you can create exceptional results in every area of your life.
So I posted a story which I titled "Spiritual Awakening" on my on my. So I have a private wellness group, which is just friends, few external people that I don't know.
Hmm.
And a lot of people came back on that story to say, wow, I'm so touched. Thank you for sharing. Well done, Tripta. And I found that I wasn't looking at validation from a well done point of view.
Right.
Right. So there was only one person who came back saying, I so connected with this, Tripta. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is the kind of validation that I'm looking for.
Right.
And whilst I say this, um, I'm recognizing that it's a fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fear of failure.
Right.
Um, which is why I'm seeking the validation.
Yes. Well done.
Yeah, but I don't know, I keep pushing through these fears, but I don't necessarily know how to shift it.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to find out?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So let's take it step by step, right? Any curse has exceptional potential to be a blessing because it has no inherent meaning beyond the one that we give it. So, in that sense, any definition can imprison you or it can set you free, depending on which one you choose. And you can literally define anything any way you want, right? So, this is a simple example because, like, how we do one thing is literally how we do everything. So, the well done doesn't compare to I so deeply resonated with this, right?
Yeah, no, it didn't.
So, that's the thing, right? That's the definition. One is good, one is meh, I don't really like it, right? One is validation, one is not. But thinking about it, depending on where, like going deeply into it, depending on where people are on their journeys, some of them, the people who said, well done, they probably meant, wow, I really resonated with this, but didn't, they're maybe not at the level to say, or the not necessarily humility, but let's say they're not necessarily in the point in their journey to say, oh my God, I really resonated with this, or oh my God, tell me more. Let me see how I can work with you.
Oh, yeah. So it wasn't posted to have people work with me. As I said, I have this
Hmm.
free group where I just post resources, right, or
Right.
experiences, and I invite everybody to share theirs, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
as long as it contributes to the wellness aspect of human beings.
So what I'm referring to is like for the future, when you start
Mhm.
really making content online, right? Somebody likes you, somebody says, well done, somebody says, oh my God, I really, really deeply resonated with this. Somebody says, how much,
Mm.
right? So what I'm really looking to point at in terms of validation is your definition towards it, right? What if every single thing, absolutely every single thing that happens, be it a like, be it this is great, be it a this sucks,
Mhm.
be it a no, thank you, or no, it's not the right time, what if everything has the potential to be validation? Everything. Because the no is actually a huge opportunity for you to sit down and reevaluate, optimize, and let go of certain things that are not necessary. What if the rejection is the validation?
Mm.
How does that feel?
Scary,
Good,
very uncomfortable.
good, good. So, you want to know how I got one of my clients from selling $3,000 services to closing $18,000 deals? This is something that I learned also from others, and this is something I taught him. You cannot control whether the person buys or not. You cannot control whether the person, reaches out to you or not. That's their choice to make,
Yeah,
right? But what you can control is how you make the offer. Because if you only celebrate when people say yes to you, it's going to be a very miserable life.
sure.
But instead, when you celebrate having made the offer, that's a very happy life.
Yeah. So I find that I still distance myself from making the offer. So if I go back to the last year and a half, even though it was an uncomfortable niche for me
Mhm.
with the narcissistic abuse survivors, right?
We're going to get to that, but let's just sit with this idea first.
Hmm. I think I'm a step behind in that because as I said, I distance myself from even I'm struggling to put myself out there and make the offer.
Right.
I know it's good, but I don't know what is not allowing me
Hmm.
to go out there.
Beautiful. So if it's not about getting the yeses or getting the validation, right? And it's really about putting yourself out there and learning and growing. right? Let's kind of flip the script a bit. Let's say that I had judgment in that sense and said, okay, if somebody says no to me, then that's bad, right? If somebody says yes to me, then that's good. What would you say to me?
I would say to you that if somebody is saying no to you, it's really on them.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm saying that they probably are not at the point they need to be at to
Right.
work with you. Um, and I would encourage you to look at every no to being a step closer to a yes.
Exactly. So what is my prison right now? Is it the rejection, or rather the fear of rejection, or my definition of what rejection means to me?
In that situation, your prison is, sorry, your definition of your prison, your of rejection.
Correct. So how do I break out of the prison?
Reevaluate your definition and redefine rejection.
Beautiful. So if you really had to, how would you redefine rejection?
Mm. That I really needed to, that I'm giving into a fear which is in me, which is the fear of the unknown, the fear of limitation, the fear of rejection, which is totally my perception, when I need to be completely calm, collected, and confident, irrespective of what I want people to say to me.
Right. So what is your new definition for rejection?
That they're not rejecting me, that there is no rejection of me as a person. There is no definition of
Let's
rejection of
let's
a
take
person.
it one step further. Is there such a thing as rejection?
No.
Right. So in the past definition, what did it mean about you when somebody said no to your services, to your offer?
Um, that there was something wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
that because I don't come from a traditional background of being a leadership coach, that this is a legacy of rejection or fear that I've carried on for the last 20 years plus. I have, I've actually, that fear of rejection and the fear that I'm not good enough, or the fear that people might think that I'm not formally educated in what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
um, actually made me a really hard person, because I was out to prove. Um,
Yeah.
and so I gathered knowledge, lots of knowledge. I went and did my master's. I went and signed up for a PhD, and
Mm-hmm.
etc. etc. And today I find that none of that knowledge gathering actually served me at all, that I needed to go in and basically find myself.
Allow me to catch that a bit and
Yeah.
catch the judgment again, right? So, and to challenge that for a bit, right? Because setting out in the world to prove yourself is actually a huge, huge asset. Some people like to call it the chip on your shoulder. situation where you have to prove yourself, right? But without that feeling of not being enough when you start out, you have no drive to accumulate information and to expand yourself, be it consciously, be it intellectually, be it in terms of doing things that you never thought you could do. For example, for myself, being disciplined and having a routine was literally impossible in my 20s. Even though I understood the value, I understood that I needed to do it, I just couldn't get myself to do it, right? But without that fear of not being enough, without that conflict in me that I need to show the world, prove everybody wrong, I wouldn't have mastered these aspects of my life. So it served me
Oh, for sure.
tremendously up to a certain point, right?
Yes.
What you're intuitively feeling right now is that idea has run its course, and now it's time for something new, right? but
Yes.
but I can attest to the fact that it hasn't been in vain at all,
Oh, for sure.
because I
Yeah.
saw you coaching, I felt you coaching. There's a lot of power there, right? Now, the thing is that you choose to not see that power, because if you did, I guarantee that you'd be talking with every single person that you see, even to the dogs. You'd say, hey, I'm a badass coach, go tell your owner. I would 100% guarantee that, right? But let's go deeper down the rabbit hole, and let me ask you, what's wrong with you? Because you mentioned if people say no, it means that there's something wrong with you.
Hmm. So what was wrong with me? Um, what was wrong with me was I allowed a lot of abuse in my life um, for many years, uh, from my partner, from my father, or shall I say my ex-husband, from my father. Um, I have been raped as well, and so there was a lot of abuse in my life, which I don't know. I had to suppress for reasons that I don't know. I was definitely ashamed of it, even
Right.
though it wasn't my fault, and I know and I understand that I'm not to blame.
Yes.
But I do hold myself responsible for putting up with it for as
Right.
long as I did, right? And I think a lot of my fear comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with a failed marriage, with an abusive marriage, with an abusive childhood, and
Yes.
having to constantly go out and prove myself, right? Despite all the baggage. To me,
That's okay. Let it come.
what will people say is, I never thought about that, um, because I would go, I don't care, which was just my defense mechanism. But I cared very deeply,
Would you like me
very
to
deeply.
would you like me to tell you something you already know?
Sure.
It takes a very, very, very strong human to go through these experiences. That is not a testament of your weakness. It is an absolute testament of your strength. Yeah, and feel it. Allow yourself to feel that. It's okay. It's okay. Let it come. Don't worry about it. Nobody's watching. It's
No,
totally fine.
yeah, no, it's
Let
okay.
it come.
I have, shall I say,
And here's something
been,
else you already know. Whenever we choose to cut ourselves off from some experiences and not feel the whole pain of those experiences and shut those sides off, we equally shut ourselves off from the whole picture. So I'm not surprised you're having challenges seeing yourself fully, objectively, with all the good, the bad, the ugly, or rather, should I say, with all the bullshit that happened, but also with all the beauty that came out of you going through it and still being alive. Some people don't choose that, right? So if I close my eyes to one side, I close my eyes to the other.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no in
I
between.
understand that.
So if you were to really open up to that pain right now, what would that look like?
So the pain has dissipated over the years for sure. I am much better connected to myself, much better connected to myself. Um, and I don't actually need the validations, So when I say I don't actually need the
Why?
validation, why? Because when I get this sense of fear,
Hmm.
if I sit back and go through the process where where I'm actually allowing myself to feel and use the very same tools that I'm putting together in my course,
Yes.
I know it's the right thing. I know it's the right program, and I know it will work. And I know that people connect with it. But like me, my kind of people,
Hmm.
my audience, when I was in that stage, I wouldn't reach out. I would offer the same kind of accolades that they're offering me right now
There we go. There
when
we
I was
go.
there.
There we go. There we go.
Yes.
So
I'm I'm
we,
looking at it from this lens, looking down, but I need to move down there and look at it from their lens.
and that is the most powerful marketing tool that you will ever possess.
Yes, for sure. I have to, yeah. Step back, spiral dynamics, come back a notch.
Now that's a powerful insight, right?
Yeah. How would I have responded when I was in that stage?
You probably need multiple points of contact with the individual to gain trust in them, to believe in them, and to believe in
Mm-hmm.
yourself in that context. You would probably
Yeah.
appreciate a patient individual, an insightful individual, a loving individual, somebody who sees beyond the bullshit,
Yeah.
and somebody who shows you beyond your bullshit, right? Beautiful. So you see, the world is already giving you love and validation, but it's in a different language. When the judgments around the language stops, is when you achieve freedom. And when you achieve freedom, you step into the world with power and love. Everything is love and validation. Everything. The yes, the no's, the I love you, the fuck you.
Yeah,
Everything is love and validation. Everything.
it is. And if nothing else, it's a validation of where they are, which is projection.
And sometimes it's a validation of where you are because there's something else you need to learn, something else that you need to adjust. I'll give you an example. I had such a powerful conversation with somebody last week, right? And I asked them, should we continue this? And they were like, yes, this was amazing. This was beautiful. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago, right? They were supposed to book a call last week with me. They still haven't booked a call. They're not replying to my messages, right? Now, it's a reflection of where they are for sure, but it's also a reflection of myself because I could have said in the call, hey, you know what? Let's save mental space. Let's just book a time right now.
Hmm.
So it's feedback for me.
Why? So I find I struggle with that. I find I do struggle with that too, in the sense that hmm, going out and asking, I I put it under the bracket of selling,
Hmm. There's
and
another definition.
somehow I don't want to sell,
There's another definition, right?
and I don't want to sell.
How can you make money?
I know. Hmm.
Maybe what you're saying, let's further refine the definition. Um maybe
I have a limiting belief that just came up
okay.
with what you were saying, and the limiting belief is that people need to see my brilliance and want to work with me.
Right. That's the first point. That's kind of the door opening, right? But once the door is open and when they're inside your office, they need to feel comfortable and they need
Yeah.
to create trust. You
Hmm.
need to create trust, right? So maybe the definition is, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the definition is I don't want to sell like other people are selling. Like, for example, when I started, I was trying to copy the people that I learned sales from, right? And they were very hyper, they were very high energy, and I was trying to be that. It just didn't work, right?
Because it's not you.
Exactly. So later, I developed my own system. That's right now, I'm not bragging, but I think it's the best system in the world where the person doesn't never feels like I'm selling, but I close in the call, right? And it's my way of selling. So maybe what you're saying is, I don't want to sell like other people are selling. I want to sell my way. I want to do it my way. That feels authentic, feels real, feels fun for me.
Mm, I see your point. Um, so the limit. I want to go back to the limiting belief that I
Love
wrote
it.
down, and
Yes.
that is people need to see my brilliance and seek me out, right? So I don't need to sell if that's what happens. But if I take it back to the next conversation, the point that you made is when I close myself off from the pain, I also close myself off from the other aspects. And how is anybody going to see my brilliance until I
Ta-da!
show it?
Yeah, exactly.
So now that I'm open, I'm a lot more vulnerable. I'm authentic. I'm open to feedback. I'm open to people saying no. So now I just need to take the step so that people can actually see my brilliance. Okay.
Yes. And it takes you not shying away from that brilliance and not ever feeling like you're making other people small because
Oh,
you're shining, right? So
so I'm not the master, not presenting me as the Miss Know It All, who's always presented herself
no,
as the Miss Know It All.
no.
Yeah, to make other people shine, of course, because it is their journey.
Exactly. So by you presenting your brilliance, you're actively enhancing the brilliance of others. You're doing it consciously and unconsciously by you showing up as your full self, right?
Yeah, but because that is what I want to do. I want people to shine. I don't want me to shine. I've done my shining. When I say I've done my shining, as in uh, my biggest learning and the biggest journey is everything outside that shines is actually quite unimportant. It's everything inside that shines that
Mm-hmm.
you need to pay, heed to.
And can you make other people shine if you don't shine?
No,
No.
no, no. That's a good. That's
What's the best way of making the people around you small?
listen to what I'm saying. I know it is the best way to make them feel small. And whilst I'm trying to say I know it, I know the best way out. Uh, and when the reality is no, I don't know the best way out. I know a way that
Right.
worked for me and works for certain people. And it's not necessarily the best way. It's not my way or the highway. That's comes from a very self-centered space. That's how I used to be.
That's
So yeah,
okay. As a consultant, you need that. That's actually the job of the consultant, right? To have that egoic presence of shut up and listen to me. You've done everything wrong, or you've done things wrong up until this point. I'm going to show you how to stop doing it wrong. So shut up and listen. That's a consultant.
yeah,
And it's needed. It's a needed energy. Sometimes you're also going to need that. You'll need to put the consultant hat on in certain circumstances, and it's a useful tool. Um, but as a coach, just like you said, our job is to help others find the inner resources that they already have. Because there's another element. If I say it, you will doubt it. But if you say it, it's going to be the absolute truth.
yes, and it's also there's belief and there's ownership, right? Because you're it's you. It's like I always say, my first marriage was my choice,
Yes.
and it failed, but it was my decision. So I own it. I'm Indian. Had my parents, God forbid, said, marry this guy and the marriage had failed, I would have never forgiven them because
Right.
that would not be my own decision. And I think that that pretty much applies to everything.
Love it. Love it. Love the ownership of that. How are you feeling right now?
Ah, you have brought back so many, you have reminded me of so many points and lessons that I have taught myself and I have learned, actually, not taught myself, that I have learned over these years. Um, and I had almost forgotten in my focus in terms of, not almost, I had forgotten in terms of trying to get this going. And yeah, No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it out there and we'll see how it goes. You know, the technical inability is something that, no, one step at a time. I can learn. I might be 50, but I can still learn.
So what? You think I was a Zoom expert when I started using it? You
I
think
know,
I was
not
a
Zoom. I'm talking of the app and the technical aspects of app and Canva and, that kind of stuff.
I, when I started using Facebook, I looked at it cross-eyed, and I was young. It took me months to really actually use it and see the point of it. So it's literally everybody goes through the same stages when they're learning something. Doesn't matter how old you are, really.
Yeah, it's just that willingness as you age in certain areas goes down. I'd
That's a
rather really
story.
hand over the
That's a story.
technical. What do you
That's
mean?
it. That's absolutely a story. I guarantee you that right now, with what you found today, you're going to become a powerhouse at learning. I I don't doubt that one, like for one moment. For one moment.
I love
That's
learning.
just a
I
myth.
just
Exactly.
I love learning. Um, I'm just not, but that I have to stop telling myself this, that I'm a technical her. And the more I tell myself that, the more I live up to it. I
There
have
we
to
go.
stop telling myself
You
that.
see the story.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful. So how do you
absolutely.
feel about validation of your niche and the content that you will be creating?
Um, Good. So my niche is 45 to 55-year-old leaders
Mm. Mm-hmm.
slash entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
That's my niche in the Middle East.
Dealing with.
Middle East dealing with. So let me just open up that document. Hang on.
Forget the
Don't know it at the
document.
top. I don't know it at the top of my head. That way.
You mentioned emptiness, the
Yes.
satisfaction,
Dealing with
um,
loneliness in a
loneliness.
transition. They want to shed how they've been up until now, but they don't know how to transition to a new way of being.
Yeah.
Um,
More meaningful, more
Live a
joyful,
whole, complete, and meaningful life
freedom driven life.
with
Because
compassion.
they might have abundance, but they still feel trapped, right?
Yes,
Mm.
they feel completely trapped because, as I said, their biggest fear is they don't know who they are themselves.
Yes.
So how do you shed what you've known and, like you were saying, has served you for so long? So I mean that um, everything that I did served me. It's just that it stopped serving me at a certain point in my life,
Yeah.
right? My defense mechanism definitely served me. It protected me from a lot. Um,
Yeah.
and these people, like myself, believed to be that that was their identity, right? They associated with that. And
And
now that
here's
they don't associate with it, they don't know where to start or how to let that identity go.
here's a phrase that you can use in your marketing that might resonate with them deeply. You feel trapped, you feel like you built yourself a golden cage.
Yeah.
Looks shiny, but you don't know how to get out.
A golden cage, and the golden cage, not just in terms of money, but also an ironclad golden cage with power and money.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. There we go. So are we there?
With power and money. That's awesome. Sorry, you had said something else straight after that.
It might look shiny, it might look bright and shiny, but you're still trapped inside it.
So it looks bright and shiny to everybody outside.
Yes.
Outside. But to you, on the inside, it's empty,
Ah, that's even better. Yeah, yeah. There we go.
gray, and like a concrete shell. Concrete.
You can just say empty and cold, just to kind of use the senses. Empty, cold, and smells like shit. Maybe not add the shit part. And shallow. Empty, cold, and shallow.
Hollow.
Yeah.
Because that's the feeling. It's a deep sense of hollowness. Yes. No, that's
Yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Yes. That
Awesome.
talks to me. That
Well,
speaks to me. Perfect.
what can I say? What? Well done.
No, well done, you. No, thank you. Thank you. It's amazing how things within us um, need to be, you know, pried out. Um, and then, yeah, thank you. I appreciate this.
My pleasure.
I
Who are you
appreciate
now?
I am whole, complete, and quite happy.
Love it. Wow, this session was powerful. And I'm hoping it was as transformational for you as it was for my client. You've seen her go from insecure to literally unstoppable to understanding the value of her offer and her power. Here's what you can expect in my next video, which is actually dropping Monday next week. You're gonna see me attempt to unlock financial freedom for another client in only one session. And we're also going to talk to her dead great-grandfather. I know this sounds freaky, but you're just gonna have to wait and see what actually happened. In the meantime, comment below and let me know what was your biggest insight, your biggest aha moment, the most valuable thing you got out of this conversation, how you felt it impacted your life. And if you do that, in the next 3 days, I will randomly select 5 people. Right? I don't know, how should I show it? Should I show it like this, like a stop, or should I show it like that? Let me know. What do you think is better, this or this? I will randomly select 5 people to gift one of these powerful coaching sessions that will unlock your potential, unlock your inner power, your confidence, which will enable you to make a lot more money and experience a lot more freedom in your life. And my promise to you is that there's not going to be any sleazy sales pitch at the end, just pure transformational coaching, just like you saw in this video. And actually, writing down your insights makes the transformation real for you. On the other hand, not taking the time to write your insights down and even declare them publicly makes it harder for you to transform into the most powerful and capable version of you. So don't miss out on that. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this video where I do my best to turn my client into a marketing master in less than 15 minutes.